I checked it ahead of time and made sure I had the right microphone plugged in, but I didn't have my headphones plugged into the right thing. So when Jim joins the show, I want to be able to hear him. So I'm going to have to plug into the proper thing now as opposed to what I was plugged into before. But now we're all plugged into the right stuff. We got the right microphone and headphones and everything connected as it should be, which means it's time to start this week's live Panther-Lair Show on a cold, ugly night in the city of Pittsburgh. Hopefully, wherever you are, it's nicer than it is here, but it's just not very nice here. But it's okay because we'll have lots of fun Pitt sports talk to make us all feel better about how gloomy it is outside. Hopefully, you've been following along with all our coverage at Panther-Lair.com this week, wrapping up the win over Syracuse, getting ready for the game against NC State this weekend, wrapping up the exhibition game, the Pitt basketball exhibition game against Providence. There's all kinds of things going on in the world of Pitt sports right now. So we've had lots of coverage at Panther-Lair.com and lots to talk about here on the Morning Pit on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And so hopefully you've been keeping up with that. And, you know, we certainly appreciate if you are getting together here. Obviously, we have a lot of things we can talk about this evening. Recap that Syracuse game, look ahead to NC State, talk a bit about Pitt basketball or anything else on your mind. You can jump in the chat screen right over there, and we will read your comments and questions as Jim and I pontificate on our own and include your contributions here on this week's live Panther-Lair show. While you're at it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. That way you don't miss any of our Pitt video content, the daily morning Pitt videos every day of the week, Monday through Friday. This live show that we do right here. And you might have forgotten that it was happening because I didn't tweet it until like a minute before the show started. So you might have forgotten that it was happening, even though we've been doing it on Wednesday nights at 8:30 for like 3 years now. But you might have forgotten. That's understandable. There's a lot going on in the world today. And so if you subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, you can turn on notifications. You'll get an alert sent to your phone whenever we go live. That way you won't miss it. That'll also come in handy this Saturday. Pitt hosts NC State at Acrisure Stadium at 3:30 p.m. When that game is over, we're not going to go live right after. We'll be at the post-game press conference and doing post-game stuff, and then we'll get back here to the Panther-Lair offices and hopefully start the post-game show around 9 or 9:30, somewhere around there. I'm not sure exactly what time we'll start, but if you subscribe to youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com and turn on notifications, you will not miss it. You'll get an alert when we go live, and then you can tune in and start drinking and talking about Pitt sports, because what is more fun than that? I'll tell you what's more fun than that, bringing Jim into the show. Jim, what do you usually you obviously have a little drive after the games. You get home, and as soon as you get home, you crack a cold one. What's your post-game ritual once you get back to Johnstown?
Yeah, I just kind of turn on the TV, figure out what other games going on, and just kind of start writing. I don't know. Sometimes I'm hungry. Because we eat
Big
breakfast at the game, then you don't really get a chance to eat again until 8 o'clock at night. So it's one of those.
Yeah, 3:30 game this weekend. So it'll be, not to get too into the weeds on things people don't care about at all, but it'll be more substantial food, I think, than the regular eggs and bacon that doesn't really hold you over all that long, particularly not 6 hours later. So do you stop on the way home? You don't stop on the way home from the game? It's a long drive. You could eat on the drive.
No, I usually wait till I get home and just figure it out from there. So
there's so many places on 22 that you could stop, right?
Oh yeah, countless. But
throughout Murraysville, you could stop it. There's Sheetz, there's McDonald's, and then you could eat, and then you don't have to worry about it when you get home. Aren't you hungry on that drive?
I'm so hungry and thought. I'm just so eager to get
thought.
Yeah, just so eager to get to my computer and start typing.
Yeah. All right, fine. I have a much shorter drive than you do, and half the time I think about stopping to get something, but I just come home and eat because I get there much sooner. Anyway, 3:30 game against NC State this weekend. Night game against Syracuse last weekend. Stanford's going to be a 3:30 game, at least around here, which is pretty sweet. So we'll get a nice, reasonable start time there instead of having the old, live Panther-Lair post-game show after dark. Jim, you were up in the Dome. You've been there before, right?
Yes.
Was it louder this time than it had been in previous years?
It did seem loud, and I guess maybe it's been a while. I'm so used to watching games behind glass that I never really get a good like feel for how the crowd is. You know what I mean? It's like there, you're just there. You're just in the crowds, like you're kind of just sitting amongst the people. So it did feel loud. I thought they did kind of renovate it since the last time I was there. There's like chairs. There's chairs now. It's not all bleachers. The scoreboards are all different. But like on third downs in particular, it seemed like they got loud, and I think that's whenever Pitt had a lot of issues. I think it was like 4 or 15 on third downs. I think that's whatever.
A bunch of false starts, like 4 or 5 false starts, all on third down. Like, did it seem piped in at all, or did it seem organic to you?
I thought it was organic. They really kind of propped that game up. Just on the pregame, like I wasn't allowed on the field, so I was just like walking around and stuff. But like they had like 100 recruits there. I don't know if it was homecoming, but like they just kind of propped it up like a big game, and there was a good crowd there. There's definitely some Pitt people that traveled, but like for the most part, like based on my last time there, which was 2021. And I think that was the last game of the year, and like Syracuse stunk by that point. Like that crowd was dead. This one was pretty good though.
I just couldn't figure out when Pat Narduzzi kept saying it was louder than he expected. It was louder than he expected. I was like, is he trying to insinuate? But he's not usually that subtle, you know, like he doesn't usually put a silencer on, you know, he usually lets it go when he wants to say something. So I couldn't figure out if he was trying to like insinuate like, oh, they were piping noise in. I got to do a better job. It was louder than we expected. But I was like, you know, I could see him saying that. Like I could see him making that claim, but he would just come right out and make that claim. He wouldn't like be as subtle as he was about it. So I couldn't figure out what to put that on. And it definitely like contributed. I was like tracking a bunch of their long third downs because they've had like a stupid amount of long third downs in the last few games, like way too many. I want to say they've faced 46 third downs in the last 3 games. 31 out of the 46 have been 5 yards or longer. And a decent amount of that came from false starts and holdings and things like that. I mean, they had actually had false starts on third down, which was even worse. I think they had, I'm looking here, 1, 2, I count at least 3 false starts on third down in that Syracuse game that turned 3rd and 4 into 3rd and 9, 3rd and 16 into 3rd and 21, and 3rd and 6 into 3rd and 11, just of like the long ones. And so it was certainly a problem, but they got it kind of cleaned up, right? Like I feel like that mostly happened in the first couple drives, the false starts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They did clean it up, and it was just, but like it was still sloppy. Like even without the false starts, like everything they did, like even like it seemed like when they got a penalty, like they would happen in succession. Like, but I'm just thinking of like the Jakirian Turner touchdown. Then the very next play, what does he do? He does a chop block,
like an illegal block. Yeah.
Then the next play after that, it's like Kendall Stanley gets called for a personal foul. Like it was like 3 in a row, but like I think that happened again. Like I think on their last touchdown drive, they got like 3 penalties, like all called right in a row. So I don't know why they came in bunches. At least they got like the false start thing cleaned up a little bit so they could somewhat run an offense. But again, like even once they got that cleaned up, like the offense still wasn't that good.
Yeah. And this is obviously a big discussion topic for tonight and a big point of emphasis for this game. One of the big storylines is kind of how the offense fell apart. And I wanted to say, well, maybe it's because Des Reed only had 20 snaps. He only had 6 touches. The offense is going to struggle. But, you know, Des Reed didn't play at all against Boston College, and they went out and put up 48 points and 530 yards or whatever it was. Now, Boston College and Syracuse are different defenses. What do you think was the biggest factor? And it's a combination of factors, of course, but what do you think is the biggest factor for, you know, why the offense was just as discombobulated and struggled as much as it did in that Syracuse game?
I mean, I think a lot of it is tied to the penalties. I mean, I think that did just bog them down in general. I think like a lot of those like 3rd and mediums became 3rd and longs, and like they just got behind the sticks, and it just like they never settled in. But I don't know what Syracuse did specifically. Like Ryan Baer spoke today, and he said like they were able to kind of like change some fronts on them. So I think what they did is like they did what you would expect a team to do against a freshman quarterback. Like sometimes they would drop people, sometimes they blitz a lot of people. So like they would just do different things. So they just never got in a rhythm. Like I go back to like Mason Heinchel's stat line. It was like 13 of 24. It was like there was no continuity whatsoever, and it was just like a complete contrast from what they were doing against Florida State and Boston College. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, I'm sure Des Reed's part of it. I think of the 13 penalties, 10 were on the offense. So like 10 penalties were part of it. Other than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, do we feel like there are, some weaknesses showing here? Like how much, how much of this are you just putting on? Well, this is a young, inexperienced quarterback making his third career start. You're going to have this. It's going to be ups and downs, because the reality is, like, even the Florida State game, he made a lot of things happen just with scrambling. He still ended up throwing for 300 yards or whatever it was, but I mean, he made a lot of things happen with scrambling. It's not all necessarily within the sort of structure of the offense. So I mean, it's not like he played 2 perfect games and then 1 bad game. I mean, it's been up and down. Is it easy enough to just sort of chalk it up to that and say, well, he'll learn from every snap he takes and get better? Or are there some bigger concerns you're seeing?
I would say, like, I don't have the same feeling I have like when Eli Holstein played Cal last year. Like it seemed like last year, whenever like he had his struggles, like that game wherever he kind of got figured out, that seemed like he got figured out. Like it seemed like they were baiting him into throws. They kind of just had a read on what Pitt's offense was doing. In this game, I didn't get that same vibe. I mean, I just think like they were unsettled. I mean, he got sacked 7 times. Some of them were on him, actually. I went back and watched it again today, and like he needs to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker sometimes. But I didn't think like Syracuse like figured it out. Like maybe that's just me projecting a little bit, but like I didn't see anything where it was just like, oh wow, like they have Cade Bell's offense figured out now. Mason Heinchel's going to do this every time he does that. I didn't get that vibe, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out a little bit more on Saturday.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that Cal game. So Mason Heinchl against Syracuse, he had, you just said his stat line. How many completions?
13.
Okay. Eli Holstein had 14 against Cal. How many attempts for Heinchl against Syracuse?
I think it was 24.
Holstein had 28. Like, so Heinchel's 13 of 24. Holstein was 14 of 28. Holstein, what was Heinchel's yardage? Do you know Heinchel's yardage at Syracuse off the top of your head? I still have the box score open.
143, maybe.
Oh, was it that much? I thought he was in less than that. No, yeah, you're right. 143. Holstein threw for 133. Holstein had 2 interceptions. Neither one of them threw a touchdown. Heinchl only had 1. So my point is the stat lines are very similar.
I get it. Yeah.
14 of 28 for 133 versus 13 of 24 for 143. One big difference is the rushing. I'm looking Holstein 8 rushing attempts for 1 yard. So sacked 6 times. You even have a little bit of synergy there with 7 sacks for Mason Heinchl. To your point, Pat Narduzzi said on Monday, 3 of the 7 sacks he blamed on Heinchl. He said it was Heinchl's fault. He should have got rid of the ball. I'm sure he said something similar after the Cal game last year too, about Eli Holstein needing to get rid of the ball. My initial thought was, okay, that was a bad game. It was a defense throwing a lot of junk at Mason Heinchl and, overloading one side and bringing lots of guys here and twists and all different kinds of things to confuse Pitt's offensive line and confuse the freshman quarterback. But like I said, I think anytime you have a young quarterback like this and a guy who's made his first few starts, even if he gets off to like a hot start, you do have like a question. Once he runs into struggles, you're like, okay, is this something he's going to work himself out of? Or is this something where he's figured out a little bit? And then you start like questioning the things that he did well. So I start, as I'm going through and like charting all of Mason Heinchl's third downs, I'm like, oh, so he's dropped back in the last 3 games, dropped back 39 times on third down, and Pitt has converted 13 of those 39 third downs when he's dropped back, 33%. Eli Holstein, in the games he started this season, dropped back 37 times on third down. He converted 27% of them. So the conversion percentage, not all that different, but we've got this true freshman quarterback who drops back. He's scrambling all over the place. He runs for a 36-yard touchdown against Syracuse on third down. I should add, has the crazy touchdown pass to Des Reed. He's done some really great things. I think you and I are probably still pretty confident in him, but could you understand if a Pitt fan comes up to you in the parking lot on the walk into the game on Saturday and is like, Jim, I don't know, man. I feel like it's playground football again, and it's a guy like Eli Holstein who can do these like crazy things when things break down, but maybe doesn't operate in the structure of the offense all that much. What would you say to that Pitt fan?
I mean, like general sentiment about it is like, as long as you win, like you can excuse a lot of things. I think we've even said that about Eli Holstein earlier in the year. Like, he'd probably still be the starter if they found a way to hang on to West Virginia and Louisville. Like, it is what it is. I mean, like at the end of the day, like it's kind of with the quarterback, like this situation, it's like how you feel. And like you feel good whenever you win. So like everyone's still confident in them. So like I don't think anyone's going to come up to me in the parking lot and ask me like concerns about Mason Heinschel, because every Pitt fan loves Mason Heinschel right now. Like, he can do no wrong. He hasn't lost a game yet. So like that's just where things are with him. And like obviously in college football, everything's fickle. It can change on a week's notice. And like, everyone might be yelling at you at the post game on Saturday.
Well, maybe they're going to ask you. Maybe they'll ask you now if they see you walking through the parking lot. Now that we brought this up, I mean, I tend to agree. I don't entirely agree. I mean, I think, I'm personally of the opinion that Mason Heinschel has a lot of talent, and that he has had a lot of points over the last 3 games, particularly the first 2, but even a little bit in the Syracuse game where he actually played within the structure of the offense, picked up those 4 or 5 yard 4 or 5 yard passes, took the short things, found the easy, took what the defense was giving him. He probably got away with too many sort of playground hero ball plays in those first 2 games, particularly in the Florida State game, that he just kind of felt like he could default to that rather than, and Pat Narduzzi even said this, like times where he scrambled. There was one pass where Narduzzi said the pass should have gone to Desmond Reed. It should have been his only target in the game. And instead Heinschel like tucked the ball and ran. He probably had a little too much success on those and needs to just take what's there, take 4 yards, take 5 yards, as opposed to trying to scramble for a 36-yard touchdown every time. Where I disagree with you about the idea that, well, as long as you're winning, it's okay, is because they've won these last 3 games and they're 5-2. Like, to me, like the dynamic of the season has changed, and the perspective on the season has changed, and the projection on the season and what's attainable in the season has changed. And like, if it's possible to sneak out of a game with a 17-point win, Pitt snuck out of the Carrier Dome snuck out of the Dome on Saturday night with a 17-point win. And I have half a mind to believe, and maybe more than half a mind to believe, that Pat Narduzzi, that was too close for his liking. I think I'm making this point on tomorrow's Morning Pitt, and I've kind of said versions of this. I don't know if you listened to his press conference on Monday, but man, to hear him talk, and this is not an exaggeration, said this is the most talented team Pitt has faced all season. The running back, Hollywood Smothers, who he called Holiday Smoothie. I can't stop saying Holiday Smoothie. He really said Holiday Smoothie. They excised that from the transcript, but he really said Holiday Smoothie. The running back, Holiday Smoothie, according to Pat Narduzzi, is the best running back they have faced all season. The defensive ends, each of which have 2.5 sacks thus far, are the best defensive ends they have faced all season. Like, I think Narduzzi, and then we had Jeremy Darveau, the offensive line coach, come in yesterday. He's reiterated the same line about how it's the best defensive ends they've faced all season. Meanwhile, I did a podcast with our friends at the NC State 24/7 site, and one of the first things he said was how weak their pass rush has been all year, and they don't do a very good job of getting tackles for loss. And I'm like, now hold on a second. I think Narduzzi is looking at, and like, this is just me playing psychologist with Pat Narduzzi, which is a dangerous thing to do. I mean, like, I don't think you want to be inside that. If you could pick any like known figure to being John Malkovich, like, I don't think you want to do that with Pat Narduzzi. You know what tell me you know that reference, right? Being John Malkovich. Have you seen that movie?
I've heard of it.
The premise is John Cusack finds a little hole in his office, claws through it, and it sucks him into the brain of the actor John Malkovich. You know who John Malkovich is, right? The actor. Did you ever see Rounders? God, Jim, come on. Anyway, he gets sucked into the head of John Malkovich, who's playing himself, and you look through John Malkovich's eyes and hear things for like 5 minutes, and then it dumps you on the side of the Jersey Turnpike. So my point is, you don't want to go inside Pat Narduzzi's head. All right.
Of course not.
What was I? Oh, so if I could play psychologist with Pat Narduzzi here, I genuinely think he looks at that Syracuse game and says, okay, we won by 17, but that was way too close. That was an ugly 17-point win. Should have been by a lot more. I don't know if the guys overlooked Syracuse or what happened there, but they need to be locked in because A, NC State's a decent team, don't want to lose, but B, and perhaps more importantly, with what they've done in these 3 games and the trajectory they seem to be on with Mason Heichel, they can actually accomplish something here. So they can really do something. And even if like the first goal is just get to November at 7-2, if you do that, you've given yourself an opportunity to really do something that I think nobody really expected you to be able to do. And like, so Pat Narduzzi, I think, is looking at it like, don't screw this up. And so you better believe we're going to talk about, the 4-3 NC State Wolfpack, like they're like the 85 Bears or something like that, or they're like, they are one of the best teams the ACC has ever seen. You know what I mean? So that these guys are locked in and ready to play. And so this is a long-winded way of saying that I disagree with the idea that like, well, as long as you're winning, it's okay. They need more than just winning. Like, yeah, when it comes down to it, you need to come out having scored one more point than the other team. But like, you can't play like you did against Syracuse and feel like you have a better than 50-50 shot of getting to November at 7-2, which right now is the huge goal. So you can set the table for November to be a big month. That was a long-winded. That went a lot of different directions. I'm going to check the chat and see who's yelling about, see if anyone's complaining about you not knowing who John Malkovich is. Nobody's even saying anything. They probably all left the stream. They probably are like, I can't stand this Hammett guy anymore. I don't want. I'm out of here. I've never seen. Jim's never seen Rounders. Being John Malkovich, a bit of a cult movie, but like, come on, Jim, you got to watch Rounders. All right, go ahead. What do you? I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, I agree. Like you obviously want to play better. Like you don't want to just skate by. I mean, like they did win by 17 points, but like I know whenever I know, and and everyone else knows whenever that ball bounced off of him in the onside kick, everyone stopped what they were doing. Like everyone in the world that is associated with Pitt football, like I sit next to Stephen Thompson, like the Post-Gazette has to have a story, like right at the end of the game, he stopped typing. Like we all did. And like we've seen this team blow like second half leads. So like I'm sure he had that same like, oh no, like it's happening again. So like, yeah, you do want to be a little more sharp. And I do get that you want to prop up NC State. And I think part of it is like, I think he does kind of like Dave Doran, like they might be like off the field buddies, but like at the other end of it is definitely like, yes, like let's make this out to be a big game. And like, they are talented enough. Like they're the only team to beat Virginia this year. I mean, like they did come up with at least one good win. They do have the ACC's leading rusher. CJ Bailey's like third in the league in passing. So like there's enough there to give you cause for concern.
Yeah, I agree. It's well, like what we said all that about going into November 7-2. I mean, I really feel like that's on the table for this team. I think it's partially I just don't think about NC State and Stanford, but I mean, I've felt for a while that there is a good football team here, and I think they've played up to it. Now, obviously, the depth and the injuries, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I mean, that's a big issue, and it's going to be an issue when they have to face, Hollywood Holiday Smoothie and CJ Bailey. But like, it just does it feel to you like the perspective has changed? Like for you, I mean, has your perspective changed? Do you feel like the perspective among the fan base has changed, or do you sense? I mean, there's always going to be cautious optimism because it's Pitt fans and they're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. But do you sort of see this path that I'm kind of seeing for this team?
No, I mean, I think everyone did. Like, I think even before the Florida State game, like I think everyone was like, if they can somehow beat Florida State, then something opens up for them. I think everyone kind of saw this. So now they're in the middle of it. And so like they got Syracuse down, but like there's still very much an opportunity here for them. But like I do want to like rewind back to like August, because like in our like little like together season preview, we had this Pitt team at 6-1 right here with like they would have defeated West Virginia. But we both said NC State is a problem. We said that in August for whatever reason, and it was kind of under the same premise that like everyone's going to be feeling good. Like they got to this point a little differently than we expected, but everyone's feeling good. So like I don't want to say it's a trap game because like NC State's pretty good, but like they're more than capable of beating Pitt. Like I think that's like very much on the table. Like I think NC State's capable of winning this game. I think Pitt's injured enough. I think Pitt's still starting a freshman quarterback. Like the pass there, but it's not. This isn't a pushover. Like everyone's like counting like because the last three are the big ones. They're all big.
Yeah. And that's probably the point Pat Narduzzi's trying to make. And I think what we said was like, okay, you know, they'll lose to Louisville, but then they'll go on this little run and they'll win 3 in a row with 2. And like, this is there's precedent for this of then winning, like getting a winning streak with the most recent win or wins coming on the road. So they come back home and they've got a winning streak and it's a big deal and they got momentum and they just, you know, it just totally let the air out of the balloon. I do remember that we predicted that. That's funny. And you know what I said at the beginning? I felt like this 4 game or like these 4 games, Boston College, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford might be the most important games of the season because they're like the baseline games, the games that you probably should win out of the conference schedule. And if you get those 4 plus your 2 openers, the Duquesne and Central Michigan, now anything else you do, West Virginia, Louisville, Florida State, those final 3, it's all like you're at 6 wins. If you take care of these 4 and the first 2, you're at 6 wins. And then anything else you do is it elevates you above the 7, 8, 9. Well, they got the Florida State win, so now you've elevated a little bit. You know, you have to win these 4 games to give yourself a chance to have a next level season, I guess. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Scott Martin on the topic of Mason Heinchel says need to give Mason more screens, draws, and rollouts. That was just not part of the plan on Saturday night. Like with all the blitzing that Syracuse was doing, I think there was one sort of semi screen to Deuce Spann that got like 2 yards.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I don't remember another. I mean, they ran that jet sweep to Kenny Johnson, which picked up. That was a decent like pickup, right? I think it was 9 yards. Yeah, but like screens, draw handoffs, roll out. Like, where were these things? And even if you didn't anticipate Syracuse being that aggressive right off the bat, like adjustments at halftime, I don't know why that never became part of the plan. Did that seem odd to you?
It did. And like, I mean, like I was just looking at some numbers like about this Pitt team and like some of their tendencies is like running backs and tight ends get a lot of targets and receptions. Like I think the running backs have combined for like 29 catches. The tight ends have combined for like 30 catches. And there was no running back receptions that game. Yeah. There was only 3 tight end receptions this game. So like they just weren't like using everything that they have been using. Like it just kind of felt like they were just dropping back and Syracuse was just rushing the hell out of them and they had no other plan for it. And like you would think, especially in a week after like Desmond Reed had 155 receiving yards, like that's what makes your offense so good. Even if it's not him, like Jakirian Turner can do those kind of things too. So like, I think they need to explore those type of opportunities, but I don't know. I mean, I still just like, it's wrestling in my head. Like, was it a bad game or did like Syracuse kind of figure something out? I don't think they did, but like, I don't know.
And whatever they figured out, you have to have a counter, right? Like you have to be able to adjust and do different things. And to your point about running back tight end receptions, there were 2, Jake Overman caught 2, Malachi Thomas caught 1, and they had 4 targets between the 2 of them. And that's it for the tight ends and running backs. And, like you said, the running backs caught a ton of passes. And I think the tight ends had a decent week at Florida State. Didn't they catch a couple passes? So, I guess, okay, week to week, it changes up. Boston College game, Kenny Johnson has a billion catches. Florida State game, the running backs are really emphasized. This past game, I don't know what you were going for. I guess you were going for the wide receivers. Kenny Johnson had 8 targets. Raphael Williams had 5, and Blue Hicks had 4 out of the 24 total passes. That's 17 targets. But, you still, Overman, Thomas, 2 targets each, none for the running backs. It just doesn't seem like there was much of an adjustment to what Syracuse was doing, and you saw the result. The result was 7 sacks because they just never really had a good response. Josh Newark says, if Desmond Reed has an ankle injury, wouldn't it have made sense to sit him versus Syracuse to get more healed rather than letting him play with limited snaps? This seems like something that won't get better without rest. My whole thing, Jim, is like, if he can go out there, if he's healthy enough to run around as a decoy and carry the ball 6 times, you can throw him the ball. And if he's not healthy enough to catch the ball, I don't think it's worth it to have him as a decoy because you're playing 11 on 10 at that point. And I just don't think you get enough benefit out of it. Like, you might as well have sat him because now you limited his, snaps. He only played 20 snaps. You limited his touches, and he still ends up limping off the field on his final play. So, like, what did you really accomplish by having Desmond Reed out there? You didn't get him healthier, and he didn't help you win the game. So what was the point? Either he can play and contribute or he can't.
I'm with you on that too. I mean, I didn't see any value in it. Like, I was watching him closely in pregame, and like, he's acting like he has an ankle injury still. Like, he's still stretching it out. It's still just like trying to roll it around, trying to make it feel better. And like, everyone's rolled their ankle before. Everyone's sprained their ankle before. Like, it hurts. It takes a while. Like, especially for someone like him, his whole game is speed and cutting. Like, if he can't do that with a good ankle, then like, you just have a small running back out there, and like, yeah, he could still gain some yards, but like, what makes him so good is that you can get him the ball anywhere. So I didn't see the value in it. Like, they obviously need him for this stretch run. They would, it would probably make more sense to sit him last week and have him ready to go for this week. I mean, like, I think that kind of like bogged down the game plan in a way too. Like, they needed to just commit to Ja'Kirian Turner. Like, you're our guy today. Like, you're going to get the ball. And like, they were just like, okay, Des, you come in on 3rd down. It just never really made sense.
Super chatter here. William Schroeder says, I know they have some tough games coming up, but I'm still not convinced Georgia Tech is one of them. It's not unheard of for a team to start 7-0 and fall off, but Georgia Tech is 7-0 right now. They're 4-0 in the ACC. They've got the number 4 scoring offense in the conference, the number 4 scoring defense in the conference. They've got a really good quarterback. They're 7-0. And so, whatever your opinion is of them, that's your thing. I mean, just trying to bring up their schedule here. So, they beat Clemson, and then in the conference, they beat Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and Duke. I mean, Wake Forest and Virginia Tech don't seem very good, but Duke has been one of the better teams in the league this year. Obviously, a win against Clemson is a win against Clemson, no matter what you want to say about it. And they might not really get tested until they face Pitt. They have Syracuse at home, and then they're at NC State and at Boston College. There's a real chance they could come into the Pitt game at 10-0, which would be a huge opportunity for Pitt to be facing Georgia Tech in that situation. But I mean, I can't really talk down on a 7-0 team at this point, Jim. I feel like you've kind of proven that unless, the wheels completely fall off, you've got a pretty good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've earned everything they've, gotten to this point. I can kind of see it from like, at least from like a Pitt matchup standpoint, like just like those two teams lined up on the field. I kind of like Pitt's chances. Like, if they're just going to run quarterback dives 20 times, like I think like that kind of plays into Pitt's hands a little bit. Like, I kind of like just the pure football matchups, and like Pitt probably catching them the week before Georgia probably also helps, even though, they'll be undefeated, excited and all that. But like Georgia, beating Georgia would be like better than winning the national championship for them. So, yeah, I mean, from a football standpoint, I can see what you're saying. Like, I think Miami and Notre Dame, like talent 1 through 22 is probably better, definitely better. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see here. Pitt Fan H2P says the ACC championship is still alive. So, I mean, looking at the conference standings right now, the conference standings are not really ideal for Pitt at this point. There's 3 undefeated teams, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and SMU. Pitt obviously plays Georgia Tech, so you control your destiny there. But Virginia and SMU don't play each other. And they don't even play Georgia Tech. Like, the 3 teams that are undefeated, Pitt is one of 5 one-loss teams. The 3 teams that are undefeated don't face each other. And then there's Louisville, who's 2-1 in the conference, and they obviously have a tiebreaker advantage over Pitt. So Pitt needs help. They need to take care of their own business, and then they need some help to have some other teams lose. But just that's probably further down the road. That, like, for me right now, Jim, the road leads to 7-2. You know what I mean? The first ask is like, can Pitt get to, obviously first, can they get to 6-2? But can they get out of October? Can they go into November at 7-2? Because I think if you do that, and like we talked about, I mean, it just sets the table for so much opportunity, and then we can start talking about, and actually, like, I think if Pitt gets to 7-2 going into November, we'll be like scoreboard watching to see. Will you be scoreboard watching this weekend, Jim? I'm going to see who Virginia and SMU play. You don't know off the top of your head, do you?
I don't.
Virginia is at North Carolina, and SMU is at Wake Forest. So, yeah, I'm guessing they're going to be okay there. SMU, though, on November 1st, hosts Miami. So, big game there for both teams, really, as opposed to Virginia's going to go to Cal. Virginia, they have at Carolina, at Cal, Wake Forest, at Duke, Virginia Tech. That's not a real tough schedule there for Virginia. They don't have, I mean, maybe Duke is the most challenging game there. SMU, by contrast, Miami at Boston College, Louisville at home at Cal, and then they have at Wake Forest this weekend. So, I mean, there's a lot of games to be played. You know, none of these teams, well, Clemson has played 5 ACC games. Nobody else has played more than 4. So there's a lot of time to go, only halfway through the conference schedule. But just the fact that it's laying out there for Pitt, and again, if they could get to 7-2, I think we could have some really fun conversations. Josh Newark wants to know which is worse, Pat Narduzzi having an inaccurate game day injury report or admitting to watching live games on his iPad while driving. You know, like, you're not even allowed to hold your phone while you're driving. That's a state of Pennsylvania thing, right?
Yeah, I think that's like fairly, like, it was like a big emphasis in the past year.
Yeah. And so this dude's got his iPad propped up on the dash watching whatever
film.
game he was watching. No, what was it? What was it? Carolina Cal or something like that he was watching as he was like driving home, or maybe and it's like there were some guffaws after the press conference about that, and some feeble attempts to claim that someone other than Pat Narduzzi was driving. But I don't even think Narduzzi himself would pretend like he wasn't driving. The injury report thing's interesting, and I'm actually going to ask Narduzzi about this tomorrow at his Thursday sit-down, because he very clearly said on Monday Shadarian Harrison was a game-time decision, and they decided to hold him. I wonder if there was any blowback, even just on Sunday, from the fact that a guy didn't play, and maybe even more so on Monday when he admitted the crime. You know?
You would have to think so. I mean, why go through the whole charade of having these availability reports? Like, he has still found a way to be incredibly discreet, whatever you want to say about injuries, in an era where he's supposed to be more forthcoming. Like, he has somehow... He has gamed the system in some way, because it's still like as much of an embargo as it's ever been.
Yeah. I mean, like, at least he's they're telling us on Thursday, these players may not play, right, with the questionable designation, or some guys being announced as out on Thursday. This is the first one, though, that a guy didn't play, a guy who was expected to play didn't play and was never on the availability report, right?
As far as I know, like, I don't know if anyone else got held out or, whatever.
Well, nobody else like comes to mind. Like, anybody else who was like a T-deep player or would have played or would have been expected to play, and then didn't play, they were on the availability report. Like, I can't think of anybody else who they would have fibbed about. So I'm curious what went into this, and then also if Narduzzi heard anything about it, or if he's heard about other schools getting reprimanded. Let's see. Voodoo IPA says Pitt needs to focus more on Gen X and younger as donors. The Pat Narduzzi show tonight reinforces where the bulk of the money comes from. I don't know.
I don't watch the show.
You have any idea? I don't even know if it's something you can watch. I think it's a radio thing.
Radio only.
I think. I could be wrong. See if I'm scrolling through to see if Voodoo IPA has anything else to say to update on that. I don't know. They had Sean Fitzsimmons. So does that reflect Gen X or something? Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Swim Boyd wants to know, Jim, what was it like running into the old Glee Club?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, yeah. I saw you posted a photo of that. At first, I was like, what the hell? I don't even know. I have no idea what this guy's talking about. But you posted a photo of some old guy, and they were just singing in a bar?
They were just singing in a bar, and I was with my parents in Cooperstown, and my mom was wearing a Pitt hoodie. And we walk into the place, and the bartender's like, "Oh, you must be with the guys in the back." We were like, "We know nobody in Cooperstown," but there were all these guys wearing Pitt shirts, and they were just singing, like they were like whatever, like you could just hear them. And eventually they noticed, they were like, "Hey, we want to sing the fight song." And so I took a video, and they saw me take the video. They're like, "Oh, like, are you gonna post that, or you say you were gonna see it?" Like I didn't, I was like, "Yeah, like a few people might see this." So I don't know. Hopefully they got a look at it on Twitter. It was like got retweeted by a bunch of people.
Were they singing the alma mater or something, or the fight song, or were they just singing like?
The fight. No, they were doing. They were actually they were doing other songs, but that would have been. Something.
Was it Man in the Mirror?
That would have been funny if it was. No, they did Hell to Pitt. They might have been doing that before I got there. I don't know what they were.
Yeah, I could hear like a barbershop quartet version of Man in the Mirror. I think it would be pretty.
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know why that. You probably don't know what that song is, so I don't.
I know Michael Jackson.
Okay. Oh, look at you. Oh, name dropping now. Hey, I know things. All right. Let's see. Swim Boyd says, "Has there not been another season that has tested the next man up mentality this much?" I don't know, man, but I mean, they're definitely like pushing it to the limit on the depth this year. I mean, there's probably other years where they've had a lot of guys go down and they've been able to rally the troops. And I mean, they've had other years with a lot of injuries and then they end up sucking. But like, as in terms of other years where they have a lot of guys go down and they end up kind of rallying and playing well and winning games like they have been so far. I don't know. Is there anything that comes to mind? I can't off the top of my head think of another year where it just feels like every week somebody else, an important contributor, is going down.
Yeah, I mean, like arguably you could go into this next game with like Desmond Reed, Rasheem Biles, and Kyle Lewis. You don't know what their status is, and they're three Pitt's best players, like pretty much undoubtedly, and Cruz Brookins too. So like 4 of your like top 5 best players might not play on Saturday. But like I look back at that game on Saturday, like speaking of the next man up mentality, like that win or that defensive performance holding them to 212 yards or something, like that was like the Pitt defense holding them down. That wasn't like good players. Like that was just the scheme. That was just like Nick Lappy stepping up, Cameron Lindsay, like Abe Ibrahim, like playing 19 snaps. Sean Lee's doing like crazy things as a freshman corner. Like it was just like the overall collective group just dominating. Like there wasn't like a standout performance. It was just like everyone doing their jobs like correctly. Like Nick Lappy was making plays that Kyle Lewis makes. Like it was just because he was in that spot. Somehow like he took his powers. Like I don't know, but like there's like a couple times like I would see like a huge tackle. I was like, who was that? And I'm like 31, like Nick Lappy, but like he was good, like legitimately good. So like I got to give him credit. Like that was just like the scheme of Pitt's defense beating Syracuse.
Yeah, it was Emmanuel Taylor was out there. Davin Bruden got some snaps on defense, and Kavir Baines Marquez. I still think I saw him playing outside linebacker in the base defense. I haven't really gotten a chance to confirm this or go back and watch it, but I swear I saw it. Which, it's you get desperate, and he's been really good. Like really good for them this year.
Oh yeah, I was talking to Steven. I said he's this year's Tyler Wiltz.
Yeah,
like just like your 1AA fine that you don't really know what it's going to be, and like he ends up being like one of your better like top 15 defensive players.
Yeah, and he might, because of injuries, he might be doing more than Tyler Wiltz did, and maybe maybe even playing better. Adam Vinchik wants to know if we have a score prediction. Right now, it's Pitt minus 6.5, Jim. It opened at 7.5. It's down to 6.5. The over-under opened at 55.5. It's up to 57.5. Do you have any thoughts on Pitt minus 6.5?
I think I would say Pitt 31, NC State 27. So would that get me the over
31?
Right?
Yeah, 58. Yeah.
But like I'd be taking NC State plus 6.5 then.
And NC State, yeah. That's pretty good. Probably a pretty good prediction. I don't think it'll be by a touchdown. I do think Pitt will win. They've done really well against top running backs in the conference. Like Yassine Willis had 14 carries for 16 yards or something like that. Isaac Brown had 14 for 20. The Florida State guys went off, but the Florida State guys, not only were they big, tough running backs, but they had a really big, talented offensive line in front of them. And, Holiday Smoothie is he's a bigger back. He's like 5'11", 195 or something like that. He's like decent size. But I don't know if he's got the offensive line that Florida State does. My cousin Jacarius Peak is actually their starting left tackle. I don't know if you were aware of this, but he's like 6'4" or so. And I think their right tackle is about 6'5", but the three interior guys and this is all listed heights. They're all like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". So I don't think there's a lot of size. I don't think they'll have that kind of size mismatch that Florida State had. And so I think Pitt's going to be able to slow down the run and maybe stop the run. Historically, they've done pretty well against running quarterbacks. I can't think of too many guys who have sort of, outside of like random freak things like Cade Klubnik running for a 50-yard touchdown or something like that. Like they haven't really gotten beat by that kind of quarterback. I think they've got a talented tight end, but he hasn't done a whole lot this season. So even though Pitt's going to be shorthanded defensively, I think they can put up a fight. It's just a matter of, can the offensive line protect Mason Heinchel? And if they, regardless of whether they have Desmond Reed or not, can they move the ball? And I tend to think they will. I think they'll bounce back a little bit. But I don't know if I see them winning by more than a touchdown, but I do think they'll win. Were you looking up about my cousin Jacarius?
No, but I was just like, you were listing off like all the heights of the linemen. So like they all just look like Lyndon Cooper.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was one of them, right? So, yeah. So basically, if you want to picture NC State's offensive line, it's 5 Lyndon Coopers out there.
5 Lyndon Coopers. So, okay.
Let's see. OOF McGee wants to know, do you think the Blue Pants will come out this weekend?
I would say no for homecoming. Like it's just going to be the traditional look, right?
I think it should be traditional. I agree. Garrett Sherwin says Mason Heinchel really needs to improve his decision-making on third down. That's where all 3 of his interceptions have happened. I feel like he's playing good, clean football aside from that. Yeah, and my little story I kept telling that I said so many times after the Florida State game is, he threw interceptions on back-to-back third downs, both situations where he tried to push the ball downfield, even though he had shorter options that could have picked up the first down. And on the next third down when he came out, it was 3rd and 6, and he threw a little 5-yard pass to Desmond Reed that turned into a 50-yard gain. Like, I felt like he learned. I felt like he grew there, and then he goes and heaves the ball downfield on a third down at Syracuse. So, you come out, you're very excited, you're making all these plays, and then you got to kind of settle into what the offense is and take what the offense is meant to do, take what the defense is giving you, and just kind of move the offense that way. And that's probably an important and probably difficult lesson for quarterbacks to learn. I don't know if Eli Holstein ever really got it. I think for all the different complaints about Eli Holstein, I think that was probably my biggest one of just, he just didn't seem to be able to run the offense. On Saturday night, Mason Heinchel looked like he couldn't really run the offense all that well. See if he can bounce back and improve. Let's see. Yeah, trying to break the NC State curse is what OOF McGee says. Yeah, Pitt has played NC State twice since joining the ACC, and they've lost both of those, but they were both at home. This is one of the weirder series in the conference. It's kind of like the Wake Forest series, right? Pitt has played Wake Forest twice, and both were on the road. So needs to kind of balance out there, I guess. Let's see. Will Z says, I think a lot of Pitt fans would be a lot less pessimistic if that Jacarian Turner touchdown would have counted. Yeah, I don't remember. They didn't score on that drive, right?
No,
they took a bunch of penalties.
They took a bunch of penalties, Then they punted to Syracuse. Then he threw an interception. Pitt decided to look like they were going to run out the clock, but then Fran Brown called timeouts to get the ball back just to punt it to Pitt. So it was like a stupid 3 minutes from both teams.
Yeah. Both teams did a bunch of dumb stuff. So yeah, I guess if Turner's touchdown had counted, it would have been a 37-13 game. It'd be hard to be down. Well, who knows if it would have been a 37-13 game, because you probably wouldn't have. Maybe you'd still end up with the punt return. I don't know what Fran Brown was doing. All right, you want to call timeouts to get the ball back, okay, but then when Pitt pinned you back at the 20,
he almost threw an interception on first down.
Yeah, I don't know if
they were booing the kid off the field.
There. Right. I don't think you come out throwing there. I think you just all right, we were hoping to either block a punt or do something, get a big return. Okay, that didn't work out. All right, let's just run the clock out and go into. Instead, they punted
what they deserved.
Get a huge play, one of the biggest plays, in the game. OOF McGee says going 9-3 and being left out of the playoffs because of the West Virginia Louisville loss would be the most Pitt thing ever. I don't know, man. I don't think Pitt fans should have any complaint about going 9. Think this through here for a second, OOF McGee. If Pitt goes 9-3, that means they lose one game in the next 5, right? Which means you're beating 4 out of NC State, Stanford, Miami, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame. Which means you have at least 2 wins against Miami, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame. And you finish 9-3 after starting 2-2. You go 7-1, in your final 8. There will be no room for complaints in that situation. That's like the people who are like, yeah, the ACC's championship was cool, but they could have gone to the playoffs if they didn't lose to West Michigan and Miami. Bro, you just got a historically great season. And if they end up turning 2-2, the 2-2 start into a 9-3 finish with the wins that they would likely accumulate along the way, I mean, you will be booed off of this podcast if you complain about it. So, not that, you can't really hear, you can hear us booing, but we can't hear your response to it. Right. Let's see. Alan Olive says Notre Dame will tell us all we need to know if they can compete with the big boys. It's we're approaching a stretch here, Jim, where it'll be every week. If Pitt keeps winning every week, well, this is the game where we'll find out, because this is the game that they always lose. We went through this in 2018 after maybe after the Syracuse game or the Duke game. They had a run of games, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, where it was okay, this will be the one every week. This will be the game that'll tell us if this Pitt team's real, because this is the game that they would always lose in the past. And then they go down to Virginia and they win. And so then they got Virginia Tech at home. Okay, this is the game that'll really tell. You just keep kicking that can. Notre Dame will tell us all we need to know if they can compete with the big boys, says Alan Olive. I kind of think these next 2 games are going to tell us a whole lot about this Pitt team, to see if they can take care of business against teams that they probably should beat, even if they are likely still short-handed. I think there are guys that they will not have back until at the earliest the Notre Dame game, in which case, you're still going to be short-handed in these next 2 games. So if they can win these 2, it might tell you all you need to know, Alan Olive, because they'll be 7-2 with a great chance to do things in November, right?
Yeah, and the thing, if they get to 7-2 and lose to Notre Dame, guess what? The Georgia Tech and Miami games are still huge. They're still in the ACC title race. Nothing really happens. Nothing can happen against Notre Dame that would change that Georgia Tech's still a really big game if they get to 7-2. They'll still have that 1-loss conference record, and that's really all that matters. Yeah, obviously you want to have a great showcase. Obviously it's going to be ESPN, national TV, whatever it's going to be. But if you get to 7-2, then that game in Atlanta is huge, and that's what they're playing for
sure. Josh Newark's a super chatter. He says, I looked up your cousin. Yeah, my cousin Jacarius Peak, who plays for NC State. Let me see if I can share my screen here, Jim, so you can see my cousin. There, you see Jacarius?
Yeah,
my cousin Jacarius. He's from Valdosta, Georgia. I didn't know I had any family down there, but I'm going to have to look him up after the game. Sub Jacarius, coming to the reunion this year. He's added almost 30 pounds since arriving on campus. So Jacarius has been eating. But yeah, that's Jacarius. So there he is. Let's see what else we want to say here. Oh, my screen went to the wrong thing. There it is. Let's scroll through a little bit more. A couple more minutes to somebody mentioned Caleb Junko needs to hold on to the ball. Caleb Junko, I think he's had some errors
moments,
but he's been really good. I think he was it the Syracuse game? He had a 60-yard punt. He had like one that really crushed that went far. I think he's punted really well this year. Do you?
Yeah, I thought he's kicked pretty well. Syracuse's punter was awesome. He could really. I think Kenny Johnson said that today. He's like, dude, he was booming them. Like they were tough to get a read on. Actually, I wanted to ask you. I didn't go to I didn't see anything other than a 2-minute highlight clip. Tell me about the Pitt basketball scrimmage.
Oh, really, Jim?
Yeah.
You doing that? We have 3 minutes left. All right, I've talked about this a lot. I don't think my opinion changed much about many things. Okay. The downside, Barry Dunning Jr. was kind of non-existent, had much less impact on things than I expected it to. I think, when we talked in the offseason, when they added Barry Dunning Jr., we thought he was going to be this guy who came in and, shot creation and offensive energy and probably going to be the main offensive guy. And he just wasn't. I mean, if anything, like I've said this a few times, Amari Witherspoon was kind of what we expected Barry Dunning Jr. to be, at least in that exhibition game. So that was kind of surprising to me. I thought he would be much better and much more, and he kind of wasn't. So we'll see what develops there. Roman Cialepa seems, I don't want to say timid, because a guy his size could never really be timid. But he, just kind of figuring things out. Once he gets comfortable on the court, he's going to be a monster out there, I think. Maybe not like in terms of like averaging a double-double or something, but just like when you see him in person, it's like, damn, this dude is big. Like nobody's going to want to take a charge against him. If you see him standing in the lane, you're going to be like, okay, is there any way I can dribble around this guy? I mean, he can run the court. I think he's going to be able to finish in transition and finish on lobs and pick and roll. Like he's athletic. He had a big dunk. I think he's going to be really good. It just might take a little time. I like DeMarco Minor and kind of the, what he brings to the team in terms of personality. Brandon Cummings seemed to take shots that looked like they would fit in with last year's team, and I don't mean that as a compliment. Noyes Indrositis took a little while to get going, but once he got going, he was making plays and looking good. Papa Amadou Kanti just has that energy. It's somewhat chaotic, but he's got a good energy that he brings. They played the two centers together, Kanti and Corin together for a little bit. I think they were combined -6 in those 4 stretches, so that's just not a thing that should happen. Who else? Is there anybody I didn't mention? Makari Moore looks pretty good. It'd be interesting to see who ends up being like the backup point guard, because Amari Witherspoon did a little bit of it. Brandon Cummings did a little bit of it. Makari Moore did a little bit of it. Minor played almost the entire second half. But I think they've got different options there, and I think Makari Moore could factor in as well. Is there anybody I didn't name?
I don't think. I feel like if somebody asked me, like, hey, how'd the scrimmage go? Like, I could just kind of take a few of those pointers and relay them.
Yeah. Solid defensively. They only shot 3 of 15 from 3, which the upside there is they only attempted 15 of them. They really should not attempt many more than that. And I don't think they'll shoot much better than that most nights. And DeMarco Minor had the most 3-point attempts. I don't think that should happen on most nights, because I just don't think he's going to be a prolific or productive 3-point shooter. I think he'll do a lot of things to help this team win games, but I don't think his 3-point shooting is going to be a part of it. So they got out rebounded. I think I said that. They got out rebounded by 5. Jeff Capel almost seemed like he was glad about that, because now he can coach them harder in practice. He said something after the game like, now maybe they'll understand what they need to do to get a little bit better there. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But overall, it was an exhibition game. They used 22 different lineups and subbed like 28 times. So tough to get a real read on things. We'll see what they do against the Fighting What is UPJ? What's their mascot?
The Mountain Cats.
The Fighting Mountain Cats. That's good because it's like a derivative of Panthers, right? It's like kind of connected.
I hope they pull out. I said this to Steven today. I hope they pull out the Flood City alternates.
Will they wear alternates for an exhibition game?
I don't know. I just kind of want them to. But then Steven replied, is Johnstown known for flooding?
Yeah. Well, Steven, don't even try to mention John Malkovich to Steven. He probably knows even less than you do, Jim. I bet he doesn't even know Man in the Mirror, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, maybe not.
The regular version or the barbershop. All right. Well, I'm going to go look and see if there's a barbershop quartet version of Man in the Mirror. And we'll close this off to take care of that. Josh Newark says this is too soon. What, for a flood joke? Wonder what is too soon about. Oh, well, doesn't matter. All right. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We got a good morning pit for you tomorrow. Just getting all the storylines for Saturday's game against NC State. I think it's a huge one for Pitt. We both think the Panthers will win. That's probably not good because we are rarely right about things. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Jim, thanks for your time. Make sure you check out the website for all the coverage, Panther-Lair.com. Like and subscribe, and we will catch up with you tomorrow for the morning pit right here on YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com.